we missing a man? Who could it be that was on the wrong Zoom meeting?
I don't know.
All right.
Feel badly.
All right. We are being recorded. Helen, do you want to do the first part here?
Yes. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody. Can everybody hear me that is remote? Hope so. All right, there are no new members, so I just wanted to discuss a few issues before we go on into the challenges. Future meetings. This is a wonderful facility, and I want to thank Lynn for getting this for us. My original proposal was to be an in-person meeting every other meeting. So if we were to come back to the Chapel in the Pines, it would be, I think, on June 7th. Is this okay with everybody? Do you think it would be okay with the church, Lynn? Okay, and then perhaps we might want to think about at a later date moving to a more southerly location in Chatham County for the people that live away from Farrington.
I'm having trouble with hearing everybody's computer and your voice.
I know.
So maybe we could turn off the computers, the sound of the computers, and you could speak up a little bit so that everybody could hear you.
So you don't need
And mine is on.
So is mine.
But
mine.
somebody, I mean, I'm hearing it through the computer and you, and I'm having trouble.
What we need to do is have everybody mute themselves except the person speaking. Is everybody muted?
But it's not just muted, you have to turn the sound off.
And
Okay, everybody-
Leslie, you're going to need to unmute. I mean, the people in the room can hear you, but the people online cannot. I don't think people who are remote like I am, and looks like Tom and can't tell for sure others, Bill and Ace are remote. I think only the people that are there at the chapel would need to mute. I don't think it's going to be a problem if the rest of us who are remote are have an open mic, so to speak. So, and Helen, the issue was whether we are going to meet for the, I guess it would be the July meeting at some other location. Was that the question?
I just wanted to throw that out to the group and see if we stay here or if we try another location.
This is great.
I think this is wonderful, but I just wanted to double check. Okay. If we do stay here, that brings up an issue. Although we don't have dues, Mike and the steering committee and I feel like that we ought to make some sort of contribution to the church for letting us use the facility. So I'm going to suggest that next time in an envelope, you just bring whatever and I'll bring a basket and we can put our contribution. I don't think it has to be much, but just the effort and to show how much we appreciate the use of the facility. So next time, a contribution that whatever you see fit to bring. Okay, so then May 24th would be a traditional Zoom meeting. And then we'd be back here May 7th. Mike has also talked about Flickr, using the Flickr as a way to do this. We want to add the big screen TV the next time, I think. It may be that if we have any problems, that Flickr might be an option. So Mike had suggested that everyone open a Flickr account if they don't have one already. And somehow or other, we could figure out how to do the challenge pictures through Flickr, maybe. We don't know that yet, but the next time in this series of experiments, we do want to add the big screen TV as a piece of this so that we could have our computers and we could have big screen TV and we could have people remote on Zoom. So that's the game plan. We just need to learn how to do it.
Is there a big screen TV there already at the?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Really
That'll be
nice.
easy.
Really
Easy to
nice.
connect.
We just need to figure out how to add that in. Okay, I think you should have gotten the challenges that have been set up for the summer. Tips and tricks are to follow. Ace, do you know anything about where you are with the tips and tricks?
Frank collated a spreadsheet and has it running through up to August, I believe it is.
For challenges and tips and
Right.
tricks?
Didn't see the tips and tricks, more the challenges.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what we need to work out is the tips and tricks. And the other issue on tips and tricks is who's going to do them? Bill and Mike have been doing them, but we need some other people to step up and help us out on these tips and tricks. I think having the links to video and print is good, and we can discuss and ask questions, but it would be great if some of the people with some expertise in one of the areas would step up and say, okay, I'm going to do the tips and tricks to go along with that particular one. So I'm kind of begging here.
I'll be volunteer to just about any tips and tricks that you have. I
Great,
mean, yeah, I don't care. I enjoy doing it, so.
great.
Yeah.
We have you on video and audio.
What I'd like to do is see other folks who understand some of this stuff to be able to jump in as well, participate.
Mhm.
I'm willing to do as much as you want, but it's nice to have somebody else do it once in a while.
Yeah, I just have always been afraid we were going to use you and Mike up. And so I don't want us to do that. Okay.
And what the next challenge after this, I looked at it earlier and now I can't remember.
Motion and blur.
Say that again, Helen?
Motion and blur.
Okay, I guess I was thinking about the one after that. So yeah, motion and blur. So.
Okay. Okay, before we move on to the challenge, is discussion on the links. We had skipped any discussion the previous meeting on shutter versus aperture priority. Were there any questions on that and any discussion on that particular topic?
Well, let me just add that I don't know whether the folks that picked the challenges did it intentionally, but the tips and tricks that went with the last meeting and that go as applied to this meeting to whatever degree, and then the next one on blur, all of those just fit hand in hand. If you've watched the video on motion blur, it's a matter of aperture priority and going from there to the shutter speed that gives you the blur in the background and the sharpness in the foreground that makes the most out of the photo. And I think one of the key things is going back to depth of field, that the longer your lens, the more shallow the depth of field. And if you use a shallow depth of field, you don't have to stop down to f2.8 to have a shallow depth of field. You can use a little bit higher shutter speed. and get the blur more from the telephoto length than from the shutter speed itself. It's still an aperture priority with the camera doing the work for ISO and shutter speed, but all five of those things, the three things that went with aperture priority, shutter priority, manual, and the two videos on blur all go hand in hand.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
I think that we're like in person here. We probably should put on some demonstration as far as aperture priority, shutter priority, using the different depths of field, different focal lengths here. You know, just so people can see it, hear it, feel it, smell it, see it, you know. And this building is big enough on the inside here that we could demonstrate virtually all three different aspects of the depth of field. So it's kind of a, yeah, I think it's a great thing that we need to consider doing, you know, in person.
Yeah, I had a question, and I think this relates to what you just said. In one of the links, I read that a general rule of thumb, you want the denominator in the fraction to be equal to or higher than the focal length of your lens. And I didn't understand that. Is that what you're talking about, Mike?
I'm having trouble expressing it. That the ratio that you just mentioned, if you're using a 50 millimeter lens, 1/50th of a shutter speed, 1/50th of a second shutter speed would be the minimum shutter speed that you could use and not get motion blur. Well, motion blur in terms of moving the camera around. So if you're shooting a telephoto, and it's a 200 millimeter telephoto, then 1/200th of a second would be your minimum shutter speed.
Okay.
And just remember, when we talk about blur and what introduces it into an image, there's two different types. There's the one that Mike was just talking about, which is the motion that you can put into it by not being very steady-handed. You know, that's the number one. And the other is your subject going to be blurry or not? And that's generally due to your shutter speed as far as, you know, the object moving itself. So there's two different things that you need to consider here. You know, one is just for your being able to hold the camera still. And the other consideration is your actual image itself.
Well, and another thing, in terms of all of that, is one of the videos, I don't remember if it was the first one or the second one that was in the list. She's talking about how to get what you want, and she didn't do it in one shot. It was repeated. She found a BMW driver that was willing to go up and down that road for an hour until she had it dialed in. And you know, we're not all going to have the opportunity to put somebody on the road. And you know, and if Chuck Gillis was not off racing bicycles too far away, we could all go to one of his events and get him on a bicycle. But and it may be that the subject that you wind up getting is not the one that you shoot originally, but you use the first shot of the BMW as a starting point, and then use the Ford that comes by as the next opportunity, and so on until you get one that, and maybe not of the one you started with, but one that you wind up with after doing some experimenting. And that's one nice thing about digital. It's free, basically free. Digital cards do not cost much of anything anymore. And with film, it would be a wholly different situation. But experiment. I guess that's the bottom line. Don't
Mhm.
expect the result the first time.
The other question that I had was, they mentioned if you were using HDR to use aperture priority or manual, but not shutter.
Well, with HDR, I don't know. There's a in Photomatics Pro, there's a way of eliminating ghosting, which is basically what blur is. And you may be able just to take 3 quick shots and be done with it, and don't go through. I can't turn my phone off because I've got something on it that I want to use, and I keep getting these spam phone calls. But I think I would not try to use HDR with motion blur. I don't know what the program that I use, Photomatics Pro, would do with ghosting to the degree that you would want it in a race car going by you. So, and it's something I guess I need to play with, but.
Any
Well,
comments, Bill?
Any other comments from anybody?
What's going on, so just kind of sitting back here.
Can't hear you, Bill.
Bill says he's having some problems hearing.
What?
Well, are we ready to move on?
Susan has an idea about the feedback.
What if, because one of the things I'm wondering is, are we getting feedback from other people's, okay. So what if people double up and we have less laptops right now? You know what I'm saying? And then, I don't know if that would.
One thing that helps, if you mute the speaker when it's in the room, then you don't get the feedback. You just turn the speaker on and somebody who's not here is speaking.
That's what I've been doing here. Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, well, is there any other discussion on our topics of motion?
On the
blur,
beginning,
and-
on the beginning of what you said about the fraction and over the lens millimeter, that was old school before we had image stabilization too. So with the image stabilization lenses, you can go a lot slower on the shutter speed and still get a decent image without the camera shake problem.
Interesting.
Are we ready to move on to photos?
I think so.
We didn't have a great number of people submitting photos this time. There were some photos that were of those of us that went to the railroad yard last week. And originally I was going to put those at the beginning as kind of an announcement overview, but I backtracked on that, and I just put the shots that individuals took of other individuals in queue with the person who shot them and their challenge photos. So let me see how badly I can. All right, share screen. Come on. Oh, there we go. Except it doesn't like that one. You see that shot?
No,
I said, sorry, my screen is so dirty.
I'm sorry. What are you seeing on screen?
You,
You.
all of us.
All right, let me try this again. Well, this is kind of the way my day has been.
Just wondering if we do this hybrid again, if maybe us in the room here would have earplugs or headphones.
One thing I like about the Chapel Hill Club is they have the same problem.
Well, I'm doing everything that I normally do, and it's just not working.
So I was wondering if we use the big screen and had the Zoom meeting on the screen, those of us here wouldn't need to have our computers, and then we'd eliminate all this feedback. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. We had thought that maybe doing it this way would give us the clarity and we wouldn't have to be all around the TV. But yeah,
The TV's big enough. that
it's
we
big
can-
enough, I think, for this small group that we could do that.
It'd
All
be
right,
good
I
to
think I
have
finally got it.
Okay, I was gonna say, it'd be good to have a separate microphone
Yes.
if you do the
Hey,
TV.
all
And,
right.
It's never gotten to the place for me doing this that even if I have a diagram in front of me, I have trouble with it. Okay, this shot is lens.
Very nice.
Nice. Yep.
Any comments?
Good.
Good perspective.
Yeah. Perfectly centered.
So just put the camera on the asphalt.
Yeah, some of us
I like the detail.
some of us didn't have the intelligence to just put the camera down, as you'll see in a minute.
We'll see.
That is a
Then,
perfect shot.
Yep.
For reasons
Clouds are great.
Lynn, for reasons you'll know, and others will know here in a bit. Where do you see the focus in this photograph? What is the sharpest in this photograph? To me, what is sharpest is what is really closest to the camera.
Right.
The rails are really sharp. Look at the tie down, whatever those the big stakes that are put through, and then look at the trees on either side. And then as you go into the frame, I think it gets softer.
So I should have focused deeper into of course, I wasn't doing anything, so I just put it down and took a picture.
Well,
I don't know
I
about
think
that.
in this, and this is me, you may make different judgments, but I would want the whole frame in focus, everything. And that's a depth of field issue. And it's that the hyperbolic, that's not the right word, the hyper focus issue and the formulas that go with it. But the rough guideline for it is to have your camera focus on a place that's about 1/3 of the way into the frame, and also using a wide angle lens as opposed to a telephoto will give you more depth of field. But I mean, this is the shot I was really after when I took the one I did. And it's a
Since
good-
I had just put the camera down and I wasn't holding it, I wasn't able to do what you're saying, I don't think, but
You have a flip screen on the camera? Oh,
no, I had a 24 to 70 lens on it.
Well, Lynn, could you have made the adjustments as you stood up and then put it down?
Camera has this.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay, then you can set it with that facing up,
Right.
and you can look right down on it, and
Okay.
then you can make adjustments.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
That's one of the things I like about that, because then I don't have to get on the ground.
Okay, I'm gonna skip to Lynn's second one.
Ooh. I don't remember that.
Lynn,
Excellent. Yes. So the camera was not on the ground. So, but it's still not sharp at the back, probably. So I don't, just depends on what you're looking for, I guess.
yeah, no, this one looks pretty sharp all the way through, but you don't have nearly the depth of that first shot. I mean, this is just across an overpass, basically.
Right.
And so the challenge wasn't as great. And Lynn, I don't mean to take anything away from that photograph, because I like it a whole lot. I mean, the first one, I didn't.
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It occurred on the first one that it didn't get clear as you get, because it seemed like everything is going away, and just on the photos.
I can't hear you say.
I said on the first one, I liked it that it wasn't clear all the way through.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Would haze reduction have helped in lens?
I don't
think
know
I'll-
about others on remote as opposed to there in the building, but I'm just having a whole lot of trouble hearing or understanding. So it's a bug.
Would haze reduction have helped in Lynn's first picture?
Say again, Helen?
Haze reduction,
Oh,
would that have helped in the first picture?
I don't think so. I think it was a focal distance issue.
Okay.
And here's Lynn's third.
Ooh, I like it. I just like the train car and the lookout sign for the mailbags.
Image within an image and looking through the window.
True. Very nice.
And Lynn, I'll say this and then I'll shut up, but the horizon, to channel again Graham, the horizon is not really parallel with the frame, but some of this is due to distortion, where the front to the left part of the frame is close, the subject is closer to your lens than the back part. And it would have taken that distortion correction thing in one of the processing programs to square that up, but it would be doable.
Well, if I had a ladder to stand on, it would have been better too.
Well, that's a good shot. Now we get a couple of people that went to the this is Lynn's photo of Susan. And you'll see later what she was taking a picture of, kind of. But then talking about how Lynn had the good sense to just put her camera on the ground, that allowed her to get away from getting run over by either vehicles.
I love it.
My dog's blanket from the back of the car. And what about the motorcyclist that came by? I know that he must have wondered what the heck was going on, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. Anyway.
Yeah, for those of you that weren't there was a motorcyclist that came by that looked straight out of Easy Rider, and I thought we were all going to get killed. And he stared at what we were doing and stared and finally drove off,
But then-
shaking his head.
But then he drove back.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it's like he went one way and then he came back. I was like, what's going on?
I was sure we were gonna get killed.
All right, Key Cobb is next.
Ooh.
So I took two different definition of track and rail and train. So here's a track.
Mm-hmm. Where's that picture taken?
This is in Yellowstone.
Ooh,
We were there in March.
Wow.
beautiful.
It's a powerful shot.
Wow.
This was a common feature because it snowed the night before. And so the animal tracks in the morning, you just see single tracks just wandering off into different spots.
You see what Michael's doing.
Yeah. He's going off track, I think.
Key Cobb, what do you think of the crop?
I don't know, can you grow crop in the winter?
What was that?
Can you grow crop in the winter? I think it would probably be good.
It's a great shot, though.
It's wonderful.
And the tracks just lead you into and out of the photograph.
So that was one of the reason I like this one was one of the comments on Picture Correct. They're talking about the distance, and that's what I like about yours, is that it seemed to match what Picture Correct was advising. And I like this, that the track goes and then disappears way in the background, but you can, your eye goes in that direction.
I'd frame that one.
All right. Oops, won't let me move without doing this first. Key Cobb?
Yep. Next one.
And
It didn't switch. Oh,
Okay,
Ooh.
so this was a mule train. And this was in Nepal. They're doing a very beginning of a 23-day hike in the Doba region.
You could use this for your motion blur.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's such a great picture.
It
that you
really
thought
is.
of taking that. It's just so.
And this is where I wanted to set it on the ground when we're moving, but because I had the flip screen, then I could set it really low and look at what I'm shooting at without having to be on the ground myself.
So did you put it on the ground?
No, I had it very, almost on the ground, but since I have this flip screen, I can look at the screen and make sure that I have it parallel to the ground. Well, without being on the ground myself. And this is actually a moment of a video. So with the video, I can take a shot out of it. And so this is what I did.
Oh, interesting. Well, I think you chose the shot well.
Exactly. Yeah, frame. So I went through it slowly, frame by frame, until I got the one that I wanted and selected this one.
another good one, Key Cobb.
Incredible. Yeah.
Thanks.
Next up is Helen.
This is wonderful. I love this picture.
Wow.
Like that.
This is,
Can't die? No, he didn't.
as you can see, this is the side of one of the trains, the engines. And I cannot tell you what I had it on because I just was doing the best I could. I had it on the automatic everything, I think, because I can't see. The one question that I have for those of you that were here, what color was that train? Do you remember? Was it this color? Yeah, I thought it was red,
It
but
was red.
does it look red? It looks pink to me, but then it looks orange with this side, it looks red with this side right now, so I had surgery.
You gotta mix the two. Yeah, that'll be right.
Helen, did you crop this and that's why it's small on the screen?
Did I crop it? I
Yeah.
don't think so. I don't remember. I can't see well enough to crop, I don't think, so.
I like that you took this view. I kept thinking, we had to shoot like the cars, the whole this, the whole that, when we were on the field trip, but I like that you just kind of said, hey, I'm just gonna do this, and I really like it.
And you have witnesses to say that it was really a train.
I'm not sure why this train is at a right angle,
Yeah.
but I can't remember anything about what f-stop, what shutter speed. I just put it on automatic, I guess, and shot. I don't know.
Well, it's a lovely.
But when you look at the photo, your original photo, and you can look at properties and it'll tell you
Mhm,
what the setting is.
mhm, mhm, mhm. I just
All
like
right.
the texture.
I continue to have almost an impossible time of hearing. So if it gets to be time, somebody yell at me that it's time to move on. But this one's Helen's second.
Oh,
I like this one a lot.
Yeah.
yeah.
This is a coupler, I guess, to connect one train to the other. And again, as I was saying, I just put it on automatic and was taking pictures. I did crop that one a little bit. I couldn't figure out. I cut a little bit off on the left.
One thing I remember about this picture, Helen, is that Lynn and maybe Susan and I were looking at you shooting this picture, and it was, the question was asked, what's she taking a picture of? And but I think it was well done.
What I was doing was taking pictures of anything that had a lot of color to it so I
Yep.
could see it.
Yep. It's good detail in the shadows.
I think it was good that you cropped the left side because that yellow could be overwhelming.
Yeah, that was
So it's a good balance.
similar when she was talking about it when Alex was around. I found out later that Alex.
All right, nice, Helen.
Thanks.
Tom, you're up. Is Tom still with us? I don't have that window open.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Tom, number one.
This is a piece of a steam locomotive, and I took this at Spencer Shops in Salisbury
You can,
a while back.
can't hear.
And the interesting thing to me about it was that when I started, it was completely black, like most steam engines. But then in processing, and I can't remember exactly what I was doing, playing around as I like to do, all these colors started coming out from within the black. And those drips, those vertical drips you see coming down out of those bolts suddenly appeared. You couldn't see them before I started working with the processing hardware or software.
And Tom, was it highlights and shadows? Was that the slider?
Oh, Mike, it was, I don't know, everything. I messed with everything. I may have used a blend mode in this as well, but I just start fooling around with things, and then suddenly all this color started to come through. And I love those colors around the very face of that. This purple, and anyway, that's the story on this. And then the number 54 up there was, I I remember rebuilding that with little clone with a clone tool. I couldn't, you know, a lot of it was cut out or something, and I kind of remade it. It looks a little blurry. The 5 looks a little blurry, but anyway, that's my offering. This is another piece. And the thing that I really liked when I started looking at the photograph, where was that crankcase up there with the light on those bolts dropping down in between those 2 white things. So when I was processing this, I took out a lot of the detail, and I didn't take out the detail entirely. I took it out at about 50% opacity. So a lot of those things, you can see them, but they're muted. Also, those weights on the wheels were busy with a lot of I don't know, distortion or paint, crummy paint job, I guess. Yeah, exactly. And I flattened them out. I flattened out a lot of the detail to get the drive rod and the 2 circles and the crankcase. So there you have it.
This one's
Really lovely.
really nice too.
Nice.
All right, next up is a Susan picture of part of the crowd. But turnabout's fair play.
Oh.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very good.
Battling cameras.
And you'll notice how well both Lynn and I embraced. And I don't mean that in a physical contact way, but just she's got her elbows down on a solid surface, and I'm basically leaning up against that ladder.
Yeah.
It's a photo shootout.
Yep.
Really neat.
All right.
Taking you remembered your memory card.
Susan.
Yeah, I said you remembered your memory card.
Oh yeah, I did this time. Yeah. Susan, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Comments?
It's really nice.
Yeah.
I like that. Yes.
That engine is redder in your picture, I swear.
Looks the same.
It's good we got 2 angles of that, but you got the good tracks in there also.
Yep. Good combo. Tracks and
Mhm.
trains.
I wonder if there's enough detail that would have made, whoops. Wondering about another crop.
Yeah, I wish it had been a little bit sharper.
Yeah.
And I did take some things out, that some little line, wires and a little post and stuff. I edited those out of the stuff near the house, but I wish it could have been a little sharper.
And all those tourists too.
I like the original.
We were the only ones there.
That was great.
There's some sort of movement in this that I really like.
I like it too because of the curve.
Yep. That's what makes it nice.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right.
Good job. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. I have an idea. Well, I had an idea what this next one from Bill is. It turned out not to be.
Ooh,
Hmm.
wow.
That's the track on a vinyl LP.
I thought of doing that, Bill. Good job. It's a vinyl LP, a track on a record.
Oh, he's like you.
Yeah, clever.
Wow.
Bill, I didn't see it for what it really is when I just looked at the thumbnail in the email, and I thought sure it was Star Trek's, but there would have been another one.
Yeah, that's using a 50 millimeter lens and 3 extension rings. So I was about an inch away from it.
Well, it's cool.
That is great.
But was it moving or just, was the record moving?
No.
You can do that for motion blur.
Yeah.
On a record player.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Bill, did you put the light in, or was it just happened to be that way?
Yeah, I had a little LED flashlight and I just kept moving it around until it kind of gave me what I was looking for.
Yeah, this is good. Like the lighting.
It's really nice.
Yeah, I love it.
You two get the awards for originality.
Well, there was a bunch of that in this series. And there's a piece of
That one
Ah.
down in this corner. I hope you didn't try to
Yeah,
play it
that's
with that on the vinyl.
Yeah, this one was different because I actually had the little tracks, which is the music, and I captured both of the spots between
Ah,
the different songs.
I love the color, Bill.
And blues and, yeah, purples and yellows.
Well,
Also call it
done,
light
Bill.
tracks.
Star Treks or record tracks. I don't normally put my stuff in, but I did this time because I knew we were somewhat short. But
You should always put your stuff in, Mike.
mhm, yeah.
We want you to.
well, that's the first one.
Ah,
Very crisp and clear.
Somebody asked me why I took close-up parts of things, and I guess that's Helen why I like that one of yours of the coupler. That my first good interchangeable lens camera was a Minolta, and I only had a 50 millimeter lens, and I couldn't get whole things in, so I started taking pictures of parts of things. But and you know, there's something interesting to me that I'll come back to in just a second. But that's also of the train that I think Helen was taking the coupler picture of.
Yeah.
And originally, I had no idea that I was going to shoot or actually process the whole thing. I took it thinking I was probably going to get, if you can see the crop I just put on it. I may still do that one, but this was one where I got the whole thing and didn't really expect to use the whole thing.
It's so solid. I really like it.
I had trouble, and I think I shot this at f2.8. And one of the things that's interesting to me is that row of rivets at the top was just far enough back from Southern that it was out of focus. And Bill, thanks to you and getting me to use topaz sharpen and selective sharpening, I brought a lot of detail out in that didn't exist in the original. But the rest of the shot was just as clear could be.
Mike, why did you use 2.8?
Pardon me?
Why did you use 2.8?
Because I wanted, it was a flat plane, I thought, pretty flat anyway. And I wanted
hearing you.
everything beyond it to be absolutely blurry.
He's frozen.
I didn't have to worry about getting
Yeah, he's frozen.
a depth of stuff in focus. And so I just shot it at
I'm sorry, Mike, you froze there. I didn't hear you.
okay. And well, let me try it again. I used f2.2.8 because I wanted a very shallow depth of field, and I thought that would work because I just wanted what was on the face of that, or the back of that boxcar in focus. I wasn't worried about anything past that. I wanted everything in the background to be blurry, and it pretty much worked. But as I said, the depth of field was so shallow that those rivets at the top kind of went blurry.
Okay, thanks.
I was wondering, Mike,
I-
on the
I'm sorry.
Mike, on the previous one, I was wondering if you cropped to the left wheel and part of the what's it called, the coupler, and that might be another, but only the wheel and the coupler.
Can you see the crop lines I've drawn? Didn't work.
So that's something you might play around with. The reason I didn't say that both wheels is because of that metal bar that's coming down.
Uh-huh. Well, I think there are more pictures there. Maybe
Yeah.
even the one that maybe even the one that I thought I was going to use in the first place, as opposed to this one. And then this was the one with me lying down in the roadway. And I like Lynn's better. I didn't follow the rule of focusing a third of the way down. I set it on infinity. And I figured that was my quickest way of getting up and getting down. And it is sharper at the long end than it is on the foreground. And again, over on the left-hand corner where the trees are the darkest, had I not had selective sharpening through the Topaz app, there would have been less detailed in it. But again, that bailed me out a little bit. And it was so dark that I don't know if you can really see, but there's this, and it may well be that there was some motion blur and there was some wind. I don't remember, but anyway. Now, I'm going to make a pitch for Flickr again. I know that not everybody's signed on, but it doesn't cost anything to sign on. And there are so many groups that are so tailored to the kind of equipment you're using that you can just get so much help with technique, etc. But I put these 3 photos up on Flickr as I processed them over the last couple of days. And just to give you a hint as to exposure, if you get a free membership, join a bunch of groups, take pictures that fit with that group, you'll get all kinds of exposure, no pun intended. But those 3 photographs today together have, I think as of this morning, around a total of 750 views. Wow. 750 people looked at those photos. And what surprised me was that more people looked at the first one than the other 2. So maybe what groups I sent them to. But anyway, that's my pitch to get into Flickr. Any other comments about anything?
Yeah, I didn't see my 2 shots that I sent to you.
Larry, All right, hang on a second. Talk amongst yourselves, okay?
Betty,
Hey, Betty.
hey.
Hi there. How's it going at the church? I
Great.
missed the first part. Is it, it's probably a lot easier just to do a face-to-face meeting without the Zoom, is that right? Or,
Yes.
yeah. So you, did you have a good few minutes before you started to just talk and, or you been working on trying to make this happen the whole time?
We had some visiting first, but
Yeah.
the feedback that we're getting when we talk is really difficult. Do you guys have feedback?
I did during the, when Mike was showing the pictures. When we're talking now, I don't hear the feedback.
All right, Larry, I don't know what happened to those, but I have them, I think. I'm gonna back out of this and do share screening again.
Oh, there's a great picture that Bill just put up of how it looks. Which is good for those of us who aren't there to see what can wave to you, right? Yeah, it's a nice, very nice setting. Beautiful.
How are you?
All right, Larry. I know I sent you a note. I must have been busy with the note and didn't think about what I wasn't doing.
That,
Can you see the shot?
yes, that is, we had to hike in 4 miles to the Cumberland Tunnel, which the train is approaching. And we were so lucky that actually a train was coming because it took us 2 hours to get there. You know, we went down the road called the Mountain Goat Trail. And this tunnel is very famous. It was the first north-south tunnel that was built in this country, crossing from into Tennessee. It's in Cowan, Tennessee, and it has 2,200 feet of length. It was the longest tunnel for years, and it was the only way that goods could go between the North and the South. So during the Civil War, it became a real battleground in who controlled the tunnel. And anyway, CSX bought the tunnel. It's also called the Cowan Tunnel. And I was just so lucky that the train was coming. Otherwise, it would have just been track. And that's the shot I took.
It's really nice.
And Larry, not to take anything away from the picture with the train in it, but it might have been, there was probably a picture with just the track, like you said, that would have been interesting.
What, just the track?
Yeah, yeah.
I have that picture.
It would be a good one too. This one's nice. The second one, if it will allow me to scroll.
That looks familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I got there earlier than you did. And I left because it was so hot.
It got warmer.
It did get warm, but that's the shot I took from I wanted to have it look like as if the train was actually moving. And I don't know if I accomplished that.
Yeah, the depth of field really does it.
Well, your focus is great.
All right.
It's a really nice picture, Larry.
Yep.
Thank
Sorry, I missed those, Larry. I don't know what happened.
No problem.
I'm glad you spoke up so we could see them. I don't know about doing this with people having their own laptops and being at the at the chapel will work. It hasn't worked for me,
Yeah.
but I don't know. The other alternative is to use the TV, and it's a nice TV.
TV would work. I think we should try that.
Yeah. Well, I tried, when Helen and Lynn and I met there, I did hook up to it, and it should work. Fingers crossed for reasons Lynn knows. If you have a laptop with a HDMI cable hookup, it's just there. I mean, and there's no real setup at all. It may also do USB, but I don't think it would be a difficult thing at all to just hook into the TV, and then we wouldn't have all these feedback problems. But we would cheat people that can't get out the chance to view. I still think that there may be a way to do it as a hybrid, but I'm not sure what it is right now. But thanks for your patience for this first one.
Great job, Mike.
Well,
What's the quality? What's the quality of the TV resolution?
Oh, it's at least a 50-inch and a 4K at least. I put my portfolio pictures on and blown up to that full screen, and it was still sharp. So, and that's standing right on top of it.
Tom, if
Don't get him back.
I think that
Tom,
would,
if you look at my picture, I'm gonna turn my computer to the TV. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes.
There you go.
I think that's what we should do. We said early on this would be an experiment, and I think we've learned from it, and we've had a good meeting, and it's been fun. This one has been because we were teasing each other about our visit. I think it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, one thing that might be able to deal with the internals here, the speakers, maybe in the future, just have one laptop on that has a speaker for the whole place. Now I have a sound bar at home that I could Bluetooth into this laptop, so we could use, one speaker loud enough for the entire room.
And Bill, I have a speaker that is meant to be
No, but you have
portable.
to,
It has
it's not just muted, you have
Bluetooth,
to.
and that would work too, I think.
I was just at a hybrid meeting Saturday of another group who used a large screen combined Zoom, and after little problems with sorting out the sound, we finally figured out that you can use the speaker in the television for good sound. The only issue is picking up the individuals around a large table where we were meeting for their inputs during the meeting. And there's not a feedback issue if you have one mic that is then shared, if you will, for different people talking, either getting a shotgun mic to be more directional, or moving the microphone around, or a high quality mic that picks up a room or a group in a certain area. That multiple mics and multiple speakers cause a lot of the feedback issues.
Yeah, I'm glad that the mistakes were not all on me. But we learned something.
Mike, you may not know, Mark came in and talked to Bill. Did he mention anything about Chapel Hill Club trying hybrid? I know they were thinking about it. Did he mention?
Helen, where are you? Are you looking around where Leslie is, or because I don't see your name on the screen anymore, but I hear your voice.
My battery went dead.
Oh.
Yeah, my battery went dead.
Well, shall we put it in the books and be done with it? Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay,
Enjoy the beach.
And,
thank you.
and Ace and Tom, and I will just have to deal with the isolation, I guess.
Great job, Mike. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks for your patience, everybody.
Oh, man, it was
Thank
great.
you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Take care.